guys, it's Nick, and the question is out there. Who the Chicago Blackhawks should consider drafting at number 2 overall in this year's NHL draft? Well, there's a lot of speculation. They probably go after Russian left winger Ivan Demidov out of the KHL/MHL. Or they go after a defenseman from Michigan State and Artyom Levshunov. Or, in my opinion, maybe also look into this player from Madison Hat Tigers and Cayden Lindstrom. I think between the first two players I talked about are the main two players that will be considered at number 2 overall. The reason why I'm saying it like this, if the Hawks draft Levshunov, the defensemen come off the board pretty quick. If they draft Demidov, the defenseman might drop a little bit in the draft. If they draft Lindstrom, same way. Demidov will probably go the next pick over. But it's a question out there. What will the Chicago Blackhawks do with the 2024 NHL second overall pick at this year's draft in the Sphere? I just want to go over this by talking about it because, frankly, it's a good question. This year's draft, the Hawks control how it can go out and how the draft plays. They already made a trade a couple days ago, which, frankly, I do quite question a little bit, trading the 20th overall pick to move up 2 picks when it's usually a trade you usually see on draft day. And, well, the Hawks moving up a couple picks already. They have that second overall pick. It's interesting to see what way the Hawks want to play out the NHL draft. And I personally think what Kyle Davidson is doing here, he's looking what can fit in this next core of the future of the Chicago Blackhawks. Do they want to wait 1 year till Demidov's contract's up in the KHL? Do they want to try and go after the college defenseman and Artyom Levshunov? Or do they want to go after that big body centerman who probably will have to have another year in juniors in Cayden Lindstrom? This year's draft, you aren't going to see the second overall pick come directly into the NHL. It's pretty much a guaranteed at this point. Unless they do draft in a different way that we don't particularly see happening. I want to know what your guys' thoughts are before I get into the stats of all 3 of these players from this past season. Who you want the Chicago Blackhawks to draft at second overall in this year's NHL draft. So let's get into this, the stats of these 3 players. All right, to start off the 3 players I've listed off, we're starting out with Ivan Demidov. And with Ivan Demidov, he plays over in Russia. He plays in the KHL. He played 2 games, not getting a single point. But in the MHL, he put up 30 games played, 23 goals, 37 assists for 60 points on the year. Demidov had a stellar season this year, and frankly, he should have probably been up in the KHL. He didn't because, let's be honest, the KHL really doesn't like having young players on their teams. When he was up, he only played just a handful of games, so he didn't play much up in the KHL, didn't record a point. So he probably didn't get much minutes. But in the MHL, putting up 60 points in 30 games played, he had a stellar season. Demidov is a type of player with high level of all-around playmaking. He's been compared to as the next Nikita Kucherov, who just had a 100-point assist season. Demidov being a left winger at a smaller size. Again, the Hawks do have a lot of small size forwards on their team. Connor Bedard, Philip Kurashev, Frank Nazar. They're on the smaller side of everything. But Demidov at 5'11", having a season like that, getting comparisons to Nikita Kucherov is outstanding to see. But you can't hold comparisons just by that. People do say his skating ability isn't the greatest, but that can be still developed. He's still a young player. He has 1 year left, though, on his KHL deal. That's the key. His KHL contract, he has 1 year left, so it will be more difficult to bring him over next year for this upcoming season. It won't happen. As I mentioned, I don't think any of these prospects I'm going to talk about do make their NHL debut this coming season. Demidov, if we draft him, he'll play another year over in Russia, preferably in the KHL for a season with men instead of another year down the MHL. But we'll see what happens. Apparently, Scott Powers did make a report saying that he's more interested in coming to the NHL versus signing a new contract with the KHL. So that's a key mention to talk about. So that is Ivan Demidov. So let's get into Levshunov. All right, next up, Artyom Levshunov from Michigan State. After his freshman year, this right-hand shot, big body defenseman had himself a phenomenal season as a blue liner for Michigan State. I actually got to see him play in person when I went to see Frank Nazar in Michigan face off against Michigan State when it was the Big Ten tournament final in St. Louis, if I'm the NCAA regional final in St. Louis. That's what I meant to say. And Levshunov was very noticeable when I was there. And when I say he's a big body kid, he is. He is 6'2", 208 pounds. And in his 38 games played with Michigan State in his freshman year, he tallied 9 goals, 26 assists for 35 points on the season. Just 3 points under a point per game as a right-hand shot defenseman in the NCAA, playing a lot of minutes, and he proved to be a crucial piece for the Big Ten champions of Michigan State. He was a crucial asset for that team, and the way he played defensively, he's smart. He has that nose to keep the puck towards the boards. He knows how to move the puck well. He's very noticeable in a good way. And for this, the fact that he is a big right-hand shot, key phrase, right-hand shot defensemen really don't grow on trees. They seem to be once in a blue moon. You don't see them often. And Levshunov is a solid defenseman all around. He has those attributes of good skating, knowing how to move the puck well, and playing strong defensively. So that's where Levshunov's stats stand from this past season. All right, next up, Cayden Lindstrom. Lindstrom at 6'4", 200, all over 200 pounds. He's a big body centerman who played for the Medicine Hat Tigers this past season. And, well, in his draft year, yeah, he suffered a couple injuries, but it doesn't take away from his game too much. He did miss quite a bit of time this season, where he ended up playing 32 games, But in those 32 games, he had 46 points, 27 goals, and 19 assists. He had over a point per game season at 1.49 this season, is solid for how much time he missed. But that is a factor with his game. He has had injuries this past season. Maybe that hurts his stock, but you can't take away from the fact that he has size, good wheels, smart with the puck, and has a nose for the net. This is a type of player with Lindstrom who can actually be a game contributor. He can move the puck well. He sees the net, goes to it, has some good wheels on him. And with his size, you can't deny it. The GMs in the NHL love big centermen, and him being at 6'4", over 200 pounds. Yeah, he's a big centerman, and he does bring some skill with his game. So Lindstrom is an interesting one to go into to look at his game. He plays with size. He knows how to drive for the net. He has that wheels on his skates, which is an attribute we do know Kyle Davidson does like having good wheels, and Lindstrom does have that. He's smart with the puck. He knows what to do with it and gets the play rolling. So that's Cayden Lindstrom. So who would I like to see drafted by the Blackhawks? Well, as I mentioned, I'm okay with any of the three players. That's why I talked about them in this video. Cayden Lindstrom, he brings size at the forward spot, which the Hawks do need. Artyom Levshunov has a great asset of being a right-hand shot defenseman and some size, which the Hawks could use a right-hand shot young prospect like that on the D. And Demidov could be a solid left winger for years to come with Connor Bedard. This is an interesting pick. I'm not going to say who I want to be drafted by the Blackhawks. I would say this. In my order, I'm kind of on the side of Levshunov 1, Demidov 2, and Lindstrom 3. But I'm like, Demidov and Levshunov are very much even. They're pretty tied on my list where I would like to see who and what position I would see the Hawks going. But I think with the Hawks, it's best player available, and people are saying it's Demidov, who probably will be the best player to go after at number 2 overall. So down in the comments down below, I want to hear who you want to see the Blackhawks take at number 2 overall this year's draft in Las Vegas. So thank you for watching the broadcast. Please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And most of all, let's go Hawks.